We're going to go over the questions for main idea on your reading workbook pages 21 to 23. You should have already read the story about stars that was on page 18, 19, and 20. I'm not going to read the story to you, but you should have already read the story yourself. And we're going to go through these questions together. So the first question says, it has two parts. You're going to do part A, then B. It says, what are two main ideas of the article by Ken Croswell? So you're not just looking for one main idea, but you're looking for two different ideas. So two of these answers are main ideas, but the other ones are actually supporting details. What did the author mainly talk about in this story? He talked about stars, and he talked about supernovas. Well, what did he say about stars and supernovas? Hopefully, the main ideas that you picked up on were supernovas are violent explosions of stars, and stars make energy through nuclear reactions. Those were the main ideas of this story that you read. Now we're going to answer part B. Part B asks us to find two sentences from the article that best support the answers to part A. So our main ideas, supernovas are violent explosions of stars, and stars make energy through nuclear reactions. We're looking for details that support each of those. So the first one that you should have found was D in part B. D in part B says, its center makes energy the same way the sun does by changing hydrogen, the lightest element, into helium, the second lightest element. That supports this main idea that we chose in part A. Stars make energy through nuclear reactions. This is telling us how the stars make energy. So it is supporting that main idea. And then the other main idea that supports the other supporting detail that supports the other main idea, supernovas are violent explosions of stars, was letter F. If supernovas occurred within a few dozen light years of Earth, we would be in trouble. If something exploded, y'all can't see that. If something exploded that was close enough to Earth, we would be in trouble. And supernovas are violent explosions of stars, which was the main idea up here. So those explosions could harm us if they were close enough, supports that main idea. The third question gives you a sentence, and it asks you for a dictionary definition of the word energy. So the sentence is, but as long as the star can make energy, it can fight the force of gravity and survive. So you were supposed to pick the best definition of energy. The best strategy to use here is to take these choices and plug them into the sentence to see which one makes the most sense. So if we did that, as long as the star can make physical strength, it can fight the force of gravity and survive. Does that make sense? Does a star have physical strength? No. But as long as the star can make hydrogen and helium gas, it can fight the force of gravity and survive? Well, stars might have hydrogen and helium gas, but does that help it fight the force of gravity and survive? Not really. But as long as the star can make heavy metals that increase weight, it can fight the force of gravity and survive? If you had something that was heavy and increased the weight, would you be able to fight as much? No. As long as the star can make power that comes from heat, it can fight the force of gravity and survive. If you have power, couldn't you fight something? Absolutely. So that is why D was the best definition of energy, a power that comes from heat. Does that mean all energy comes from heat? No, but in this sentence it's the best definition, a power that comes from heat. In question 3, it says you have a chart and only two sentences are actually main ideas of the article. Identify those main ideas. Copy them in the rows titled Main Idea 1 and Main Idea 2 in the chart at the bottom of the page. So our choices for main ideas are, in 1604, a supernova exploded. Supernovas make important elements. Astronomers did not always use telescopes, and Antares is a massive star. Only some stars will become supernovas. Hydrogen is the lightest element. So we're looking for two main ideas from the article. All of these things were talked about in the article, but the two main ideas should be supernovas make important elements, and only some stars will become supernovas. The text that we read was all about supernovas. That was the main idea. So you're going to take one of these and write it for main idea 1, and take the other one and write it for main idea 2. Then we're going to look at this next chart, and it has supporting details from the article. We're going to choose one detail that best supports each of the main ideas we just found. So we're going to find one detail that supports supernovas make important elements, and we're going to choose one detail that supports only some stars will become supernovas. And we'll write them next to the supporting detail line on the chart at the bottom of the page. So our supporting detail choices, let's look for one for supernovas make important elements. Let's look for a supporting detail for that one first. The last time people saw a supernova in our galaxy was 1604. Does that support supernovas make important elements? No. It is about supernovas, but it's not about them making important elements. However, every year astronomers see supernovas exploding in other galaxies. Is that about supernovas making important elements? No. The sun will never explode. Is that about supernovas making important elements? No. And the explosion themselves produce iron. Is that about them making important elements? Yes. That supports the main idea, supernovas make important elements. So you're going to write this supporting detail next to that main idea in the chart below. Your main idea, supernovas make important elements, supporting details, and the explosions themselves produce iron. Alright, now we're going to find a supporting detail for our second main idea. Our second main idea was only some stars will become supernovas. The last time people saw a supernova in our galaxy was 1604. Does that have to do with only some stars becoming supernovas? No. However, every year astronomers see supernovas exploding in other galaxies. Does that support only some stars will become supernovas? No. The sun will never explode. Does that support some stars will never become supernovas? Yes, it does. We should know that the sun is a star, and if it won't explode, that means it won't become a supernova, because we should know from the article that supernovas are when stars explode. So in our second main idea, we should have only some stars will become supernovas, and the supporting detail, the sun will never explode. Number 4 asks you to reread paragraphs 6, 7, and 8. What's the author's main idea in the paragraphs? Use key details from these paragraphs to support your answer. So I'm going to flip back to paragraphs 6, 7, and 8. And I'm going to read these to you, and that's what you should do also. When it tells you to reference a specific line or a specific paragraph, you should always reread it. So we're going to start with paragraph 6. But because the star shines so brightly, it uses up its hydrogen fuel within millions of years, much less time than the billions of years the sun will take to use up its fuel. Soon the star's center runs out of hydrogen. Then the star expands and cools, turning into a big red star like Antares. Astronomers call such a star a red supergiant. The red supergiant makes energy by changing helium and other elements into still heavier elements. But these nuclear reactions do not make as much energy as hydrogen did. Within a few million years, the star has no fuel left. That was paragraph 6 and 7, and now we're going to read paragraph 8. Now the star is in big trouble. The star can't make energy to hold itself up, and gravity is still trying to pull the star inward. So the star's center collapses, scrunching itself into a small, dense object. Meanwhile, the star's outer layer shoots into space at millions of miles per hour. The star has exploded. Hopefully you picked up on the paragraphs were all about stars eventually dying out. They're big balls of gas, but eventually they will die out. So the author's main idea is that a massive star shines very brightly, but it lives and dies quickly compared to other stars. Shining brightly uses up the hydrogen fuel inside the star. The center of the star begins to run out of fuel, it expands and cools. Eventually, it collapses and explodes. You do not have to have the same exact wording that we have here on this answer key, but you do need to have something similar. You need to tell what the main idea was, and then tell some details from the passage that support your main idea. The very last question says, in this lesson, you determined the main idea of text and explained how key details supported them. Describe how these skills will help you understand other informational text. So when you pick out the main idea of a text, you're picking out what the author mostly wants you to understand about that text. And that's going to help you because it means you're comprehending what you're reading. The answer they have here is identifying main ideas and explaining how key details support them help you develop a deeper understanding of the text, which is what I said, just in a different way. I said picking out the main idea helps you to understand what the author is, the point of the author's text, and it helps you to understand what you're reading and comprehend it. You can put it in your own words. Make sure it is something similar to either what I said or the example answer right here. You are going to complete reading workbook pages 14 through 17 on your own. These will be a grade when you turn in your work to me, so please make sure that you try your absolute best. And email me if you have any questions.